What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another live stream live from Miami, Florida. Welcome to the Camera Junkie live stream. My name is Lewis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie. If it's your first time here, please introduce yourself into the chat so that you could get the warm Camera Junkie welcome from the Camera Junkie crew. And this is episode number 98, right? 208. That's 14 days away from episode 100, and we're etching closer and closer to that. I'm getting super excited, but as always, I want to thank you for taking the time and spending it here with me on the Camera Junkie live stream. And let's see who's in chat and check that out. Let's see who's here. All right, right off the bat, we have Mr. Sarkeesian. Richard, okay, that is extremely small, so let's fix that. Okay, let's move that correctly here. Boop. And all of this is done with the power of Ecamm. So let's center that there. That looks good. And let's check it out once again. Mr. Sarkeesian right there, dead center. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for taking the time. Super cool to have met you at People of Video, and now to actually, have that friendship built on, someone that has always been here in the chat. Super cool to be, part of the Camera Junkie crew and to meet, a fellow creator. Amazing, and super cool to have met you, Mr. BZ Tom Buck. How you doing, sir? You're someone that I'm making plans to meet, right? And we'll figure that out, whether it's a future event or a future road trip, because apparently I'm getting pretty good at the road trips and I'm having a lot of fun doing them. So here we also have Mr. Moderator Paul Duncan. Thank you for taking the time and hanging out. And Michael is also someone that I also was able to meet at People of Video. Had an amazing conversation. Super cool to have been able to meet you as well. All right, we have Kevin Cox also saying hello to the crew. And as you can see, we have Mr. Moderator saying hello to everyone here. All right. Hey, we also have Tech Troublemaker saying hello. He's in the house. Thank you for stopping by. And I just love this. Everyone's just saying hi to everyone. And yep, he's saying, wow, number 98. Yes, 98 consecutive weeks. We had a little bit of a rough patch the last couple, but I'm back here at home base getting things ready to rock and roll. And some changes that I'm going to be making to the live stream, pretty much aesthetically, how, it all looks and things like that. I'm just kind of in the mood for a change, and certain things that I want to switch up as far as the introduction, my countdown, and things like that. Most of the time that I do the countdown is to make sure that I have everything on the back end, secure, because I, as self-labeled, I am solo production specialist and I do all of this by myself. So I always try to make sure that I have, my T's crossed and my I's dotted before I'm actually live. So that, and with the help of my awesome moderators who I'm also have here in my Discord off to the left here, so that just in case something were to go wrong, I still have the ability to look over and make sure that we're 100%. As you can see, that's the Discord there. So what are we talking about today? Today we're talking about, oh, what is this? Oh, we have a missing camera in the scene. So let's not do that. Oop, let's go back here. Okay. Back to that. As you can see, the production has been missing me for a little bit. And when I went to the rolling cameras, I didn't go through all of them to make sure that all the cameras were set correctly. But I digress. Today we're talking about remote production. And the reason why I bring this up is because as a solo production specialist and someone who does this by themselves, I also have the ability with the power of Ecamm to actually do remote productions. And that means that I have a link that's set up to actually invite people onto my live stream, onto my recording, or just to kind of have my own Zoom call one-on-one as a phone call in a personal, like kind of like one-on-one, meeting of the minds. And with this power, you have the ability to record, you have the ability to broadcast, you have the ability to do a lot of things with Ecamm. So one of the things that I had been doing is editing the Flow podcast. And the Flow podcast is basically a like 3-point view of how to create a podcast using Ecamm. The first is basically the live production, where you're seeing like all of the raw production of the behind the scenes getting set up, and then you will see the introduction that's also being done, hosted by Doc Rock and Katie Fox. And they're actually doing the live, or they're doing the podcast live, and then once they're finished with kind of the meat portion of it, they'll go into a Q&A for the people who are watching live. Then I get my hands on the footage and I do the edit for both the video portion and the audio portion that will actually be the finished product podcast. So that's where we were up to just like last week. The reason why is because with this process, I was waiting on both Doc Rock and Katie to actually upload their footage that they're recording through Ecamm on their own ends, so that then I can get my hands on it to edit it. That's usually how editors work. But now we're taking the next step, as I am being the remote producer. So instead of having Katie dial in all the way to Hawaii to Doc Rock, she's now dialing into my machine, and Doc Rock is doing the same, dialing into my machine here, and then from my location in Miami remotely, I am then uploading to the Ecamm YouTube channel. So now that I'm uploading there, one of the advantages of this is that I no longer have to wait for Doc or Katie to actually upload the footage for me to start the edits. I have everything in-house. So I'm also recording an isolated audio track, which is very important when it comes to podcasting. You want to have the audio separated for the simple reason that sometimes you step over each other's words in a conversation, and to make sure that the audio experience of a podcast is up to like the highest, level of production that we can get. If someone's coughing or someone's murmuring where you really can't hear the main person or the most important point clearly, I have the ability to duck down the first microphone in that section and eliminate it from the audio broadcast or the audio podcast that we will be uploading to various accounts through Captivate, which is what we're using to make sure that it hits all the YouTube, not the YouTube, the podcasting or podcatching platforms. So now with this remote production, I have all that ability right away. So instead of waiting for uploads to happen by Friday and editing the files through the weekend to have them ready for the following week, what we're doing now is I am remote producing it directly on Tuesdays, and I have files to work with immediately. I will then get supplemental footage of their own recordings to be uploaded to a later date, and what that does is that it allows me to fix up the video file. So for instance, let's say that there is a portion of the video, right, or the audio where someone is speaking over each other and I have to duck them down to make it, understandable when it comes to the listening experience. When you're watching it in video, you're gonna literally see someone talking like if it was a old school Japanese movie where that the lips don't match the audio, and they will just kind of be like, and you will see motion in them and speaking and reaction, even though there's nothing that you will be listening to actually make the experience good for the audio. At this moment is where I'm able to take the supplemental footage that both Doc and Katie are recording on their own and bring it in and do a special like highlight where I'll just fade into a solo shot, because I'm getting a raw video feed of just what their camera is picking up, allowing me to clear up or cover up with a B-roll type of footage or a solo shot of either Doc or Katie to actually kind of smoothen that over and let the person whose point I'm highlighting or the audio that I'm highlighting at that moment also be highlighted in the video to actually smoothen things out. So that's where it's evolved from me just editing the podcast to now remote producing it so that I can edit and have a faster workflow for my podcasting edit. And just this week I was able to complete the entire thing with ample time. So just by the end of yesterday, everything was ready and uploaded, given to Doc and Katie, because then they do a little bit more work on the background as far as creating blog posts by using other programs like Descript to actually get a script of everything that was spoken in the aftermath, and make sure that there's a SRT file, or basically captions that follow both the podcast and the video for the captions, whether it's being uploaded to the Captivate or to YouTube directly. So with that, we're able to see and show all three sides of creating a podcast through video first. But now I also, like last week I said, I was able to add model to my resume. Now I'm also able to add a remote podcasting producer to that as well, which is just another milestone that I tell you guys that I just never come 2 years ago, I couldn't even have fathomed that. I was saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be remote producing podcast, I'm gonna be doing such and such, like I'm gonna be a model for Ecamm, and representing this company in that way. So many things that I just stay in awe, and I am super grateful, but like just hands down amazed and in shock of how many things have been happening. And I can't say it's by coincidence, right? Because it's not coincidence. It's literally just the right timing and making myself available for these opportunities and being ready for them. I am now remote producing a podcast, but as I just mentioned before, I'm in episode 98 consecutive weeks of this live stream, which a lot of people can consider it to be just like a podcast. And then in that aspect, that I am well over 100 total productions. Well, I'm getting close to like 150, with the 98 that I have here and all the others that I've have under my belt or have been a part of. So knowing that is where I can just kind of like rest assured that I know what is required to do this. And that's like I said, just 2 years ago, I would have never thought that I would have been in a position like I am today to actually say I can help you out with remote podcast production, and I can do it all in-house. And one of the things that I kind of take pride in myself is the way how I felt it went very smooth, right? Like it was a lot of fun. Sound check was super cool, and like everything went really smooth as far as the entire production, and how easy it was, honestly, how easy it was to make it for both Doc and Katie to be able to just like call in, do the podcast, and then be like, I'll check you guys later. Katie left, Doc hung up, and then it's like I have what I need to get started, and all the wheels or all the gears are turning correctly. So with that aspect, it was super cool to be able to do this and also make it easier for Katie, because she does so much with Ecamm. So it's just something else that I'm able to help out with, to take off her plate instead of giving her files on Monday that she has to try to transcribe and have ready for Tuesday. Now, she was probably done with it by the end of Friday night, and now has like the entire weekend to actually enjoy her weekend, which is very important, to have the appropriate downtime, especially when you do so much like Katie does. So big ups to Katie for everything that she does. But with that is part of this entire experience. So now I am part of the podcasting, or the Flow podcast, even that more integral than just the editor. And I'm really excited for this new opportunity, because I'm learning so much as, you know, we go on and we try to upgrade our skills every day. So to make the most of every day. And you know, Katie had put a post on LinkedIn, you know, saying like it's fun to have, you know, like to be able to make a podcast, but also to do it with friends. And that she forced me to be the remote producer. And I'm like, you may say it's forced. I say it's like a promotion, right? And it's a promotion within the field that I have so much fun, you know, working in. So, with that being said, being an editor, being a podcast producer, being a live streamer, being a YouTuber, being a content creator is exactly where I want to be. So I, I sit here with this grin on my face, if you know what I mean, because there's I'm just in shock. Like I would have never thought, right? And I guess where I am at right now is really understanding that this is just the beginning, and that this is literally just scratching the surface. This is where I am today, and I can't wait to see where we are 6 months from now, so on and so forth. Because with that, a little bit of news, we hit 1,300 subscribers, you know, on the channel, which is a great milestone, especially when I still stay shocked that I was able to amass 100, you know, and that we're still growing. You know, it's nothing is nothing to say that it's in a viral pace. And is it kind of exactly what I want? Tom Book is here in chat, and we're always talking about the air fryer emporium. And that's where I feel I am at with my channel. I am in such a good place when it comes to the content that I'm creating, not only for myself, but for other content creators that I'm working with, including Ecamm. I see Glenessa's in the chat. How you doing, Gigi? And she's also someone that I'm working with now, just starting out. And quite a few more, India Delgado and Janice Anderson, just to name a few more of people that I am working with to edit content and better perfect my skills, which, like I said before, allows me to stay in a content creation space, which has then allowed for other opportunities, like me going to Amesbury, Massachusetts, and doing a photography and video shoot, which is exactly what I want to be doing. So doing this has opened up doors that like I said, I would have never thought, which is why I sit here in so much gratitude. Because we have Aiden. Hey, Aiden, come on. Say hi to everybody. You want to say hi? Hey? No? No, he just wants me to let him go. Go ahead. But yes. Go ahead. Okay. So I sit here in gratitude because there are so many things that have already happened. Like, just for those of you who might not have heard, I was able to spend basically like the last month on the road, in contact and hanging out with so many amazing people: Katie, Doc Rock, Caleb, Austin. I was able to meet Ken and Glenn from Ecamm. I drove Spot, their robotic dog. So many things. And on the way down, from this amazing like work trip, I was able to stop in Philadelphia and meet Keith Pelzer. We hung out for a day. Then I was able to also go down and meet Felicia Alston. She's also like, we were able to get a coffee at Starbucks, which was amazing. She's amazing, super nice. She got to meet Aiden as well. And then I was able to once again hang out with my friend Chris, which called me a little bit earlier today, in Orlando, and he's someone who I'm starting to help out. So I'm mentioning him for the first time here on the live stream, kind of to put a little fire under his butt, because he's a foodie and he wants to create content around his experiences and the restaurants that he finds in Orlando. And the couple of pieces of content that he's already created has gotten good response, and I've been telling him to invest in himself and do this for himself. So if he ever gets to see this in the future, just know that I'm rooting for you, bro, and that I know you got it in you. So I'm just throwing it out there. All you need to do is get started and let the chips fall where they may. We had a really cool conversation about it. We had a really good meal in Orlando on the way down, and it's something that I'm probably just going to be going back up to Orlando more frequently to actually just enjoy of the restaurants that he's familiar with. The couple of places where we went were awesome. And so I'm probably going to be spending more time in the Orlando area. A couple of other people, as I can see, Melanie is there. She's saying Orlando meetup. Definitely, we got to meet up, and I will try to let everyone know as much as possible, with anticipation, when like the weekends that I'm going to be planning to head up over there. Another thing that I want to do is head back to Jacksonville. Yeah, Michael's also in Orlando as well, so we could definitely make a meetup and definitely hang out. There's definitely enough people, within the crew right here that we can get it done, and that way you guys could also meet Chris and also probably help put that fire under his butt to get things started, because like they always say, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago and the second best time is today. So don't worry about the time that you missed or that you haven't done. Get things started as soon as possible and make a plan to be consistent with it. So I'm trying to get him to create just one piece of content a week, and that's just to get things rolling. We'll see where that ends up, but that still was just like an awesome experience, an awesome time that I was able to, take out of my day and hang out with him in Orlando for that evening. But that was all part of the way that I designed kind of my road trip. I designed it with some extra time to actually, make the time to visit Keith, visit Felicia, visit Chris, and stop along the way and kind of, like I said, take the time to smell the flowers, take the time to smell the roses, because we do a lot of traveling, right? And everything's usually on a plane from here to there, and you're just like 4 or 5 hours, getting peanuts in a bag or something like that. And then you're at the other location, and then you pop right back into your life the same way. One of the things that I've always wanted to do was travel. And more recently, right, thinking that I was just going to be giving up on, like the dreams of traveling, so to speak, following my passion now has opened these doors where I actually am traveling, whether it be New York, but I decided to make it a road trip. And because of it, I really took it as that. So one of the things that I was able to do was on my GPS, I put to avoid tolls, right? And what this does is that it avoids all the major highways that will kind of lead you to the quickest path. And it led me through a lot of kind of like back ways or alternate routes through these states. And as I was traveling through all the states on the East Coast, not only was that like a really awesome like sightseeing tour, but when we left people a video and we were traveling to Maryland, or I mean to Massachusetts, I was able to go through like New Hampshire and Vermont and avoid these major highways and actually see like the beauty of these states. I ended up in one part of, I believe it was New Hampshire, where it was the tallest part of the state, and it was the highest mountain, and they called it the Switzerland of America. All you know, it was kind of foggy, so I wasn't able to get the best photos, but you could just see all these rolling mountains over like just the landscape. It was awesome. And then to continue to see like all of these back roads and to actually see the beauty of these states, all the farmlands, all like I have a bunch of photos on my phone, whether they're foggy or not. I was just driving and snapping away because I wanted to document that experience for myself. And I was able to, I hopped through like all the states, Rhode Island, uh, just, yeah, like just everything, like all the New England states. I basically like knocked them all out. I think the only one that I didn't get to, but I got to the border of, was Maine itself. So I didn't get over there. I was in Boston for the first time. It was, there's so much that I can talk to you guys about that it's only been a half an hour, right, of this live stream, and I know I can go for days because I was able to, on top of document everything, I was actually able to be present, right, and soak it all in. And that was something that is just priceless to me. And that's what that's one thing that I am proud of myself, to say that I was able to make the most of my everyday, and that this past month was a true testament of me striving for that. So I sit here in amazement and gratitude, and I can't wait for my next trip. I can't wait for my next adventure and where that's going to go and what that's going to be about, because I think I missed the podcasting movement this year, but I really think I'm going to be more part of it next year as well. Another thing that I was able to be part of was the virtual event held by Ecamm, the Leap into Podcasting, which was, on a personal note, like it was very it was validating to me on a personal note, because I was able to speak with a lot of people who gave me that validation. And it's not really something to like stroke my own ego about it, but it really gave me a better sense of my own value, which is something nice to know and hold and understand. When you have that and know that what I'm doing is impacting people far beyond my own scope, is really amazing. I find that to be real awesome. And also, just I want to share that with as many people as possible. That's why I bring up my friend Chris and everyone who could be listening or watching on this stream. Definitely invest in yourself, because your reach is so much more than what you could ever think of, right? There are things that are blossoming in my life which I never would have thought, because I couldn't even think that broadly. But now things are very different, and I am game for whatever's coming my way. I'm just super excited to be working with such an amazing group of people. And like I said, and that's just the start. Like I sit here and I'm talking with Doc Rock and with Katie, and they're talking about like, oh, like our podcast is on Spotify, and it's like out in the world, and people are listening to it, and I'm part of that. And that's definitely not lost on me. I sit here in amazement and in gratitude, and I just want to share that with all of you, because like I told my friend Chris, the things that are possible, we can't even understand them, because there's opportunities that are on its way to us that haven't even come to fruition because they haven't even been invented yet, right? Certain events and certain opportunities that haven't even presented themselves because they haven't even come into fruition. And when they do, you're going to be ready there, and people are going to recognize you for the work that you've already done. So it's just going to be like a shoo-in, and that's when they ask you, you're ready. Like when Katie asked me, hey, Lewis, can you be the model to this photo shoot? And I'm like, man, absolutely. I've been in front of the camera so long. It's like, what's another one? Let's go. Let's do it. Right. But if someone didn't have like the work in, excuse me, whether it's their own content, and have that confidence of being in front of a camera, they would probably be more timid to take on that opportunity, thinking that they might fail at it. And yet I just decided to thrive in that same environment and say, let's go for it. And it was so much fun, and something that I can now say I did for like the rest of my life. Like some of you might not know, but I actually did one of these bucket list things, which was I did stand-up comedy. So I went on a improv stage on an open mic night, and I've done comedy in front of people, in front of 300 and 400 people. That was something that I wanted to do, right? So in that same manner, I was able to be ready for the opportunity when it presented itself, and basically thrive in the moment. So with that, I hope that inspires you a little bit. But going back to it, what we were talking about was the remote production capabilities, and now with the power of Ecamm, I am able to do this remote production for the Flow podcast, and I'm really excited. For those of you who don't know, there's a new feature coming out on the new version 4.0, which is even going to take this remote production to the next level. So what does that mean? I had mentioned before that we have isolated audio. So I am able to get the individual audio tracks for both Katie and Doc Rock. Well, in this new version 4.0, I'm also going to be getting the isolated video. So directly onto my computer, I will be getting a isolated video feed, which is the feed directly into my chat, from like my interview mode on the Ecamm program. So that raw feed, I'm able to have a separate recording and have the audio that's, connected to that separate, have the audio that's coming from that separate video feed to be directly onto my computer, meaning the step that I had mentioned before of having Katie and Doc upload their footage to be supplemental, I will also have that directly on my machine, meaning any future remote production, it would be as easy as telling my future clients that all they would have to do is call in and I take care of the rest, meaning I will have all the files that I need. I will have the original file that we would be pumping out to their YouTube channel, or Twitch channel, or whatever destination that may be. But immediately, whoever's on screen or part of this production, I will have a video and audio feed completely isolated for each individual guest that comes onto that podcast or production, however you want to say it. And I am able to edit it completely without having them to upload anything to a Google Drive or a box drive or anything like that. I will have all the files that I need to create the best podcast or video production in one step, which is what really excites me over this new isolated video. Not only will I be able to record like this video feed here and have it separately, right? Excuse me, let me get some water. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so this is my secondary shot here. And this shot will be recorded directly onto my hard drive, just like my first shot. So what that allows is for me to actually like record a YouTube video with a talking head portion like this, but also have this feed completely clean being recorded as a secondary file. I will also be able to have like my tertiary and fourth shot, my overhead, all of them being recorded at the same time. And that way I am able to do a multicam type of setup on my recordings after the fact. What that allows me to do is to basically hide certain cuts, right, that we would do, a certain jump cut. So instead of having a jump cut that will literally take a pause away, so for instance, if I were to finish a sentence, pause with that much emphasis or that much timing in the pause, and I wanted to cut that chunk out, my head moved from this location to this location in that time. And once I remove that, you will see kind of like the jump in the cut. Now, if I were to do that same thing with a secondary angle, what I'm also able to do is that gap, I'm able to switch over and jump over to the secondary shot, hiding the movement of my head or the position of my head, because I'm giving you a completely different angle, which kind of tricks the mind to not really notice where my head was positioned from the first shot to the next. So these are just tricks that we do as far as the editing goes, that we're always trying to just make our production a little bit better, right? That getting 1% better every day. And once you understand these things or learn these tricks, it's kind of hard to unsee these things, right? Once you see them, or you're aware of them, you try to do your best to fix them. So with that being said, is part of the things that I'm really excited about Ecamm 4.0 to come out with, because on top of having the multiple cameras giving you the raw feed, part of the raw feed that you're going to get is getting it through the interview mode and being able to do these remote productions and have the file recorded in your computer, which is the same that you broadcasted. So to explain, it will give you the file that has all the bells and whistles, that has all the sound effects on it, that has all the overlays, that has everything on it, and have that as a finished file if you wanted so. But then it will also give you the individual feed of anyone who was connected to you, both their camera and their audio, completely individual, so that you can do it with it as you please. And then to finish it off, you have everything immediately as soon as you're done with the broadcast, so that, or even if you didn't broadcast, you can just do it a direct recording, and you're not asking your clients to actually have an extra step of having to upload their files, and if they forget to do so, or if there's an error with their system or anything of that with their recording, it's another safety net, so to speak, that you actually are able to, or another I would say comfort, right? Or another piece of tech or ease of use that you're able to provide for your clients to just make this easier for all parties involved. So for that reason is why we say definitely check into Ecamm. And if you're thinking about doing a podcast or a broadcast, to really look into Ecamm and doing video first, even if you're using it for audio only. Just a little side note, I really think that a one-on-one conversation like a Zoom meeting tends to bring out a better conversation than just having an audio conversation, right? When you're able to speak and actually see someone nodding their head and acknowledging you, it leads for a better overall conversation, which, even if you're only using the audio portion, leads to a better podcast for your broadcast. That rhymed. That sounded good. The podcast for your broadcast, or flip it. All right, let's check the chat once again to see what's going on, because I've been rambling for quite a bit. Okay, I saw some people were popping in, so let's see where we're at. Okay, we're over here. Okay. Gigi says that beard is becoming epic. Thank you. I've been putting some work on it this year, and thanks to Dancy Bearded for letting me understand exactly what it is to get a full beard, and it has a lot to do with this back under beard. I used to have one of these curtain beards where it was long up front but no substance underneath. Now it's just completely different, but I'll tell you the truth, it's so comfortable to have a beard, because I just trim it every once in a while and just barely maintain it. When I'm someone that, like, if I were to shave every day at 5 o'clock, I have a 5 o'clock shadow. It's not fun. So this is so much more comfortable. As you can see, I closed on top and then long on the bottom, kind of reverse, because it is the most convenient. Everybody's saying what's up to each other. Says live is live and the show must go on. Hey John, how are you doing? Saying what's up to the crew. Tom was saying, this is a very nice way to say Doc was slow to upload footage. Yeah, but it wasn't easy, because the whole thing is that, let's say he uploaded it, or both him and Katie uploaded it by Friday. Like Friday, I was in, kind of like wind down mode, and then have my own live stream on Saturdays after like a day of, like live streaming with Doc Rock, and then having his drop squad class. So having all of those things on a Saturday, to then also like be doing the edits. I was actually editing the podcast Sunday night until Monday morning. So this also helps me out as well, because I also try to dedicate my Sundays to hanging out with my father, right? And with that being said, the time that I would get home would be kind of like at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening. And that's when I would start editing the podcast to have it ready. So if there was any hiccup whatsoever, it would kind of bleed over to Tuesday, which was the day that we wanted to have it out. So that's where it was also tough on my end. Not so much the time that they were uploading it, but the time that I would actually have to actually edit the way that I wanted to. So now, with having all of this information in-house right away, I was able to, like I said, I was able to basically have it pretty much done by Thursday, and just put the final touches on it on Friday. And by like early afternoon, it's already like said and done. And I was able to really listen to it again, and kind of double check it, which I didn't have the luxury to do the past couple of weeks because of just the time frame and everything. Actually, probably even longer than that, since, like, people of video, that was the first one that was already starting to like suffer with the time crunch, being both present at the event, and like Richard and some people saw me literally editing out of the main room while people were speaking. Yep, that's cool that I'm doing remote producing. Yes, it is, because it's something that I also mentioned and talked about, but it was kind of like almost dumbfounded that I was like, why aren't we doing this? Doc mentioned it when we were over there in Plum Island. Yeah, on that, in the Airbnb. He's like, instead of doing this, you should be remote producing. And it was just like, almost like, duh, of course. That's exactly what we should have been doing. But it was just, I was thinking, I'm not the producer, I'm the editor. And it just kind of like letting things fall as they may, not really thinking that that was our problem, so to speak. And now to see that that helps out both production and editing, and just like all in one shot, it was kind of a no-brainer. That as soon as Doc mentioned it, I just kind of like, yeah, that makes 110%. Like, should have thought of that like week 2, so to speak, of editing. Like, we should have thought of that, especially because that I have the bandwidth. I have a gigabyte both up and down, so I have plenty of bandwidth to take all the callers in and pump it out without any issues. So it says great resume milestone. Yeah, I've gotten quite a few. It says, haha, skills to pay the bills. That's what you got to do. Upgrade your skills. As you can see, upgrade your skills. It's what we do. How you doing, Gretchen? Says hi to the fam. Says the power of any story is in the edit. That is very true. And that's what I've realized as well. Being able to just grab footage and then make the most out of it. It almost feels like that cooking show I used to watch, Chopped, where they just give you like a carrot, a bag of Fritos, and some Yoo-hoo, and make something, and then you're like, okay, and you have to like make a 3-course meal or something out of it. That's kind of how it feels sometimes when it comes to these edits. But with the power of the story and a lot of B-roll footage, you're able to make wonders with a lot of things and make sure that you get your point across. So that, and a lot of flashy lights and transitions. Okay, everybody say what's up. Hey, what's up, Modern Day Tech? How you doing, bro? Gigi saying Prince Aiden. Okay, so that's where we're at. Melanie's talking about the Orlando meetup. I actually think that that's a cool idea. You got Michael, you, Chris, and myself. That's 4 people. So that's definitely a full booth at any restaurant to just like start things out and hang out for an evening. It says, I wish I had been to go to POV. Let me say that. I wish I had been able to go to POV. Too many commitments. I got it, man. I know is exactly how it is, but with this whole thing, I had part commitments that had me going up in that area, being that photo shoot and the leap into podcasting, which, like I said, it was just an amazing month. I'm still kind of recuperating from it. You understand? Like, I just got in basically Tuesday, right? Was it? Yeah. Monday. Excuse me. Monday, I returned the vehicle, which was kind of like the end of the day, but I had gotten in earlier Monday. So getting here on Monday and then unloading the vehicle as soon as possible, making sure that it was good to return to the rental place at the airport, and then doing that like around 10 o'clock at night. That was the end of my like trip. So Tuesday was kind of like the first day of recovery, and it's just been that ever since. I'm still in kind of that recovery mode. I'm feeling really good today as far, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be hanging out once again with my father. And then we'll see where we go from there. As you can see, it's getting to that time. We're reaching that hour mark as always, and my body is already saying, yo, it's time to shut it down. Sorry for the yawning, but yeah. If let me just go through these comments before we close things out. I do have Cities God that we're gonna check out right now, so let's do that. Eleni's saying there's so much power when creators get together to inspire each other. Absolutely. And I think it will be really cool for Chris because he's not really part of this, right? And he has his own entrepreneurial business as well, which is what is really making it hard for him to kind of like let go of that because it's his business. But I find myself in a very particular position to be talking to him, not only as a friend, but someone who's had to do the same exact thing not too long ago. At the halfway point, 6-month mark of this year, I stopped fixing iPhones. Like, just stop. And I still have like some true, VIP clients who are hitting me up that they don't even know. They just assume that I will always be there to fix their phones, and they're just sending me messages like, yo, and they're kind of like not finding me because I don't even have the time to divulge to kind of explain what's going on right now. And I will get around to it, but right now my focus is where it needs to be. And I just find it very interesting that I am in this particular position and trying to help out a friend to do the same. So, one step at a time, but I'm trying to also lead by example and show him how it can be done in today's day and age, because things are changing. You understand? And once you're able to see the wave, right, as it's coming, you're able to ride it instead of just getting smacked by it. So I live by that. All right. Says, I'm thinking the POV replay should be available in a week or two. Yeah, because there's still like so many great talks that I want to actually watch the replays as well. Michael says, chatting with Lewis and the great people at POV got me charged up on my return home. Look at that. Gretchen is saying hi to Gigi. Kevin is saying, sounds like you had an amazing trip and made the most of the opportunity that was put in front of you. Keep the ball rolling downhill. Absolutely. Absolutely. Says you have some momentum going, Mr. Paul Duncan says. I think so. I think there's definitely a movement happening where, like I mentioned before, the air fryer emporium, but the right people, right? The right people are the ones that are recognizing me, not just every person. And that's where I sit here in awe, right? Where the creatives that I followed know me by name, Caleb Pike, which I've joked around here, and say that he's like my soul MacGyver, because I've seen so much of my own creativity on, the gadgets and the nuances of making something out of nothing in the content that he's created on, like his cart modifications and his like one stand, builds with camera, lights, like the whole thing. That to have him recognize me and my name on a live stream, that's like, what more can you say? That to me is just like one of the coolest things, right? The fact that I have like a friend of mine, Tom Buck, messaging me to make sure that I'm going live when things were stacked up against me last week. Like, I can't tell you how that speaks volumes, right? over anything that would be considered a subscriber count or a vanity metric, right? And that's where I sit here super grateful and just amazed that I have the right people recognize me for my efforts, not just every person. So hopefully that's something that somebody needed to hear, right? And yeah, let's go into Cities Gall. With that being said, Cities Gall, channels that I think you should go and watch. And this week's Cities Gall, let's go here, click, boom, there we go. Someone who uses Ecamm themselves for their podcast production, Mr. Jared Spink. So if you haven't heard of Jared Spink, I highly recommend you check out his channel and check out his podcast, the Hive Podcast. I had the fortunate chance to be episode number 61 of this podcast, and as you can see, an amazing list of creatives that he's been able to have on there prior to me being on it and post that fact. Just an amazing podcast, one of the ones that I listen to weekly. So it was funny to have listened to his podcast for so long and then to be part of it and to see how it just continues and how it grows. Someone that I can consider to call a friend, but also an amazing creative, someone that you can learn a lot from, whether it's producing a podcast, how to host an interview, because he's really great at interviews. That's why his podcast, I feel, has been so successful. But he also has a lot of other videos on his channel, whether it's about drones and like video and audio production. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check out Mr. Jared Spink at the Hive Podcast. His YouTube channel is Jared Spink, but as you can see, that's where he broadcasts it. And if you have your favorite podcatcher, you can find it under the Hive Podcast on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. All the P's and pulsives were kind of hard to get that out right there. So definitely channels that I think you should go and watch. Mr. Jared Spink from the Hive Podcast. Boom. All right. And now let's check the chat one last time. I stopped using Zoom for my small meetings and now do them in Ecamm. So do I. That and, Discord, because Discord is the only other place where you're going to find me to do, to catch me outside, so to speak, to catch me on a one-on-one, type of meeting. Hey, what's up, Caleb? How are you? I am doing well, and I wish the same for you. I hope everything is well. I discovered from the Ecamm Academy, there are several of us in the San Francisco Bay Area thinking we need to do a meetup. That sounds cool. Says Paul, couldn't agree more. We need to meet up in real life. Absolutely. Especially you guys that are over there. Definitely. Someone who helped me with the beard, Mr. Dancy Bearded. If you haven't checked him out, you might want to, if you're interested in beards, he's got a lot of great information. Now, he did a meetup in Orlando. When was it? I think it was June, something like that. And I just got wind of it. I'm like, you're going to be in Orlando? Definitely got to go meet up. And I drove up there, took the 3-hour drive, met up with him, just hung out for a bit and then drove back down the same day. So it's easy enough for me to be able to do that in one day that there shouldn't be any issues to create a meetup in Orlando. Plus, there's someone else who I'm not going to mention right now that is within the area that I also am looking to meet. I just need to reach out to them to see if it's something that could be possible as far as meeting up with them, maybe collaborating with them, so on and so forth. But don't want to say anything just yet. I'd rather just shoot the email and see what happens before I say anything about that. But things that I want to put into play and get them done as soon as possible. But everyone, thank you for hanging out. We have done it successfully. Another Camera Junkie live stream. Episode number 98 is in the books. Let me get some more water here. And yes, episode number 98 is in the books. I hope the audio was fine. I am going to be listening back to it because, FYI, my Rodecaster Pro 2 has not been acting too good since I got back. I think it's mad at me for leaving it behind for like a month. But there's a couple of things that are going on, like here, let me see if I can show this real quick. I have the overhead cam. Okay. You see that? You see the crowd button right there? I had to take all the sound effects off because it's like literally I'm tapping the desk and it's my buttons are going crazy. So can't even she is mad at me. Oh, we gotta figure this out to see if a reboot or if it's something to do with the beta software. I might have to go back to the standard software to see how she starts acting, but hopefully that didn't affect the audio for today's live stream. I hope that you all have an amazing week, and if you don't know, episode number 99 is already scheduled for next week. Same time, same place, 11 p.m. Eastern, here on the Camera Junkie channel on YouTube. Camera Junkie live stream. I can't wait to see all of you guys here to join me as the, what is it? Penultimate? Well, not even that, because it's not the last one, so I digress. Just the number 99 to the 100 episode, which is what we're building up to. So next week is the last week before we hit the big 100, and I can't wait to see everyone here. I can't wait to hang out with you once again. Another episode in the books. And as always, I thank you for taking the time and hanging out with me. It's always the best, and I can't wait to do it all over again. As Mr. Paul Duncan is saying right here, have a great week, everyone, and I will see you next time.